All right. Super excited for Abby to be on the podcast and for her to be in this podcast Facebook community. Because actually, if you didn't know, I just went and visited Abby. So it was super fun to come down to Cocoa Beach for a couple days and hang out with her and Tyler. But today, what we're going to be talking about is dream boarding. And, some people might also call that a vision board. There's many different names, but this is a practice that I've been doing for 3 years. And Abby has been doing it as well.
Yeah.
And it's just a super cool thing for you to help manifest the things that you want in your life. But there's so much more to that, and it goes so much deeper than that. So Abby is here she's the expert on this, the guru on this. So she's going to share her experience, how to go through this process the best way possible, and also give us some of the science behind it too. So, Abby, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I was so excited when you asked me to talk about this because I felt like the timing was so perfect. This time of year, a lot of people focus on like New Year's resolutions and, just a new year, new me kind of thing, which has its pros, but for me, I've also been doing vision boards or dream boards for I think about 3 or 4 years now. But this last year is where I really was able to like hone in on the skill and really create some magic and like see some of these things that I wanted and some of these like deep, deep desires like actually come to fruition versus just like putting up pictures on this like fantasy board kind of thing. So I'm really excited to share, how I was able to kind of do that and give you some of that, like you said, that science behind it. Because that's just so my jam. I love the brain and I love the way that the brain works. And I'm so fascinated by it. And so I do a lot of research on how things kind of come together that way.
That.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's dive in. I think maybe the natural place to start would be more of the science behind it, if you don't mind. Let's start there, and then we'll go into like your experience and how things have come to fruition for you.
Yeah, so okay, so a dream board, I actually pulled up like the actual definition like on Google, and it's just a collage of pictures. And they're pictures based on something that you're dreaming about, something that you want, a desire. A lot of people like will use this in conjunction with the word manifestation. So just to like kind of backtrack a little before I go into the science of manifestation, like what is manifestation? It is basically the concept of bringing something that's in your head, in your thoughts into your reality, into your 3D world. So an example, if you are, maybe you want to be a mom, maybe you're thinking about like what would it be like to be a mom, having a baby, like that whole process of being pregnant. And then you actually get pregnant, you actually have a baby. Like that's kind of the step by step of like manifestation. It's just bringing something that's in your thoughts into your 3D world. And the cool part about it is like science actually supports this through this concept of the RAS. It's the I'm going to mess this up. Reticular activating. I always say activation. It's not activation. Reticular activating system. So this is a part of the brain that's actually in our brain stem, where majority of our like functions take place. But it's just a bundle of nerves, and the entire function of it is to. It has to do with cognition. It has to do with our behavior, and like I feel like it's just like a really fancy way to just say like it's a filter for our brain. So the way the RAS works is say that you want this is like amazing. I totally want this. I really want like a little Jeep Wrangler, like a 4x4, something I can take to the beach. I can just like throw my husky in the back and like just go, maybe take the top off, have the doors off and everything. So if I really want this Jeep, right? I really want it. It's like something deep inside of me. I'm like, I can like picture myself driving it. I even know like the color and I want it to be like manual and all these things. Well, all of a sudden, I'm going to start seeing Jeeps around. Like I'm going to be driving and all of a sudden I'm going to like see a Jeep on the side of the road, or maybe I even meet a new friend and they happen to have the same Jeep. Things like that happen all the time because of that RAS system. The entire point of it is to actually help us find the things that we crave. And so it's a really cool kind of like biohack to train your mind to actually look for the things that you desire, which is why using a vision board is so crucial, because what we're doing is we're putting together this collage. Like I said, it's like a montage of pictures, and it's affirmations, and it's a lot of feeling, and putting those things together on a digital form. Some people do it as like a physical form, like they'll actually cut out pictures and post it onto like a poster board and put it up in their room. And either way that you do it, like there's no wrong way to do it, like whether it's a digital or a physical form. But by creating those pictures and putting them somewhere that we're going to see often, it trains our mind, in our subconscious mind, to actually look for them. And we are creatures of habit. So when we see something that, like, okay, so going back to my Jeep analogy, right? I'm like, oh, I really want this Jeep. And then I see the same Jeep for sale. It's like, oh, now it's like confirmation that like the universe or God or whatever you label it is like showing that to me as a sign to like correlate with the desire that I'm craving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So it's almost like a confirmation, but it's cool because it's actually the way that the brain works is by seeking that confirmation. So yeah, so I'm like obsessed with this concept of building vision boards and having these things that we desire like on there. But something that a lot of people miss is, not only should you have the things that you desire, like the things that you want to manifest, that you want to bring from your mind to your reality, but also including things that you've already manifested. That's
Mm.
like a huge part. Because what it does is it actually helps our brain realize that there's no difference between what we have now and what we want. We can get what we want right now, and time is like the space between, right? So by learning how to kind of collapse the time, I feel like we're getting like super deep, but like learning how to like collapse the time and quantum leap in a way, that's like that's the secret sauce, right? And that comes from just taking aligned action, being super clear on what you really want, having faith, like letting go of the like how it will come to fruition, just knowing that it will. And then having fun, because a lot of these manifestations that we create, like it's like, oh, I want that car, I want that Jeep, right? I'm going back to the Jeep. I feel like I'm going to see a Jeep later today though.
Are.
So like I want that Jeep so bad, right? But also knowing that I'm not always going to get the thing I want right away. Some of it is like a waiting process, and knowing that if I were to just wake up and like, Tyler just surprised me and have the Jeep in the driveway, like maybe I wouldn't be ready for it. Maybe it would like cause like friction, and I have to like worry about like getting it insured and, putting gas in it and like learning how to drive it and all the things. So some of it is like we don't necessarily want to rush the process, as much as we like want those desires to come to fruition. Like a lot of it is just knowing that they will come to fruition, and just like I said, definitely being clear on like what you're creating, and taking the aligned action for that. So in that same analogy with the Jeep, like going and maybe doing a test drive of a Jeep, or just going to the dealership, maybe not even test driving, because maybe that's like too much of a commitment for you and you're like, ooh, I don't know, that's like too much. Maybe just like driving by the dealership and just like stopping to look at one. Or even better, because this is like even more like low key, just doing some like online research, right? You can do like 3D walkthroughs now and stuff like that, like a virtual tour. And I think that's like where we're able to take the aligned action But also having that faith of knowing that like it may not be here now, but it will show up for me.
I love that. And I love how you shared too, and correct me if I'm wrong in rewording what you just said earlier, but it's important to have some of the things that you've already
Mm,
manifested, if you will, or you already know are going to happen, to include those on your vision or dream board, correct?
absolutely. It's a
Yeah.
huge part of it because what it does is it so if I were to put something like this year I moved to Florida from Connecticut. So if I were to put something from that move, right? Something that's already happened to me, my brain is looking at that picture and being like, "Oh yeah, that's happened. I know that's happened. I'm living that right now." So as I'm looking at that picture of maybe it's my feet in the sand, right? Which I have that correlation before I moved. I actually had I have an example to show you too. I had a picture on my vision board of it wasn't my feet, but it was a girl's feet, and it was in the sand. It was like right before the wave came up, and it was like all the foamy wave because there's certain times of year. So I had that picture on my vision board, and then it actually happened in my real like 3D world. So now I can take that picture of it happening in my real 3D world and put it on my vision board like for the coming year, and my brain knows, oh, that's already happened to us. So if that's already happened to us, then this pretty red 4x4 Wrangler Jeep that you want that hasn't yet happened is also happening for us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I never like connected the two, but it makes so much sense.
Mhm.
And I've done that. Like in hindsight, looking back at my vision boards, not the farthest back, but this most current vision board that I did, some of that stuff I already knew was going to happen, yet it was still up there, just like you said, to connect the two. So I love that. That's awesome.
Another really good tip too, when you're making your vision board, is to include photos from first person point of view.
Mm.
So this was something I actually heard in a podcast by Catherine. I'm gonna mess up her last name. I'm not even gonna try it.
Oh, the manifestation babe?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so she was talking about this, and it was just like one of those like aha moments when I was listening. I'm like, "Ah, duh, of course." So a lot of times people will just like throw up like random photos like on their vision board of like, okay, maybe they want to take a picture to Greece, and I mean they want to take a trip to Greece. So it's like a picture of like this cute girl in Greece, or maybe like from behind so that you don't see her face, so it kind of resembles you, right? But then if you think about it from your perspective, when would you ever see yourself, unless it's like a picture that you took, that someone took of you, you're never going to see yourself from like the behind part of you looking out, right? So another like really, really solid tip that helped speed up the process with a lot of my manifestations this year was altering my photos to be from first perspective. So like I said, that picture of my feet in the sand, it wasn't even my feet, but in my brain, it's like, "Oh, that's something I could actually see," like, looking down and seeing my feet in the sand. Another good one is, like, I'm a runner, and so I love to run, and something I really am, like, working up to doing is, like, running on the beach. That's, like, a whole 'nother level of running. And so originally, I had this picture of this girl running on the beach, but it was, like, as if I was, like, laying on the beach, like, watching someone run by, like, that was the perspective. And I had to actually alter it, and I'm like, "Wait a minute. If I'm the girl running, that's not what I'm seeing." Right? Like, if I'm the one, like, laying and, like, maybe sun tanning, that's what I would see. So, being able to kind of alter the perspective of the photo itself and being, like, super selective is, like, so important as well.
I love that. Gosh, that when you say it, it makes so much sense is to like put yourself in the actual reality by making it look like what you'll actually be seeing when it comes to fruition. Yeah.
Yeah, because that RAS system doesn't know the difference between, like, imagination and reality.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, it does not know the difference between the two. So it assumes everything that we show it is real, is reality. So when we put those types of photos where it is that perspective, it kind of triggers something in the brain to look for that, to say, oh, this happened here. I saw this once, so I'm going to look for it again.
Love that. Ah, so good. So good. Bringing all the science into it. So do we want to maybe next share like some of your actual real life examples? I think that would be great is to, see your actual dream boards and then how those have come to life, have
For
become.
sure.
It's
I'm going to pull
all
up.
about back
So
there.
I've got, let's see, I've got an example okay, this is actually a really good one. I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah,
So this is an example of, can you see it?
you can. Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is an example of a past dream board. And actually, I made this in 2020, I think.
Okay.
I think it was 2020 or 2021 even. But it was a while ago, a couple years. And so here's some examples, right, of that girl like running on the beach
Yeah,
and, like the girl working from her computer. Like maybe that's like me looking at my friend, not me looking at me doing that, right?
right.
So it's actually quite interesting that those pictures that are from a third person point of view have not yet manifested, if they will at all, right? Because like I said, it's not something that I've seen so many people running on the beach, and it's probably because this picture is from that perspective of me watching someone running on the beach, not doing the running.
Yeah.
And the photos that are from the first perspective, like the husky walking on the beach, which by the way, that's not my dog, but it looks just like
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
um and the perspective of the before and after for the camper, of like all the photos on this specific board, those are the two that have actually manifested.
And I mean, look at that picture. You told me this before, but look how eerily similar that picture is to your actual camper.
Yeah,
It's
here I have a better view. It's like more, yeah.
gosh. I mean, look at that.
How crazy, right? Like, I mean, this is just a photo that because I was like, this is before I even owned a camper. I was looking for pictures because I really believe in,
Yeah.
putting the things on there that you really, really desire, things that you're working toward. Like I said, you have to take the aligned action. It's
Yep.
not, manifestation is not just optimism. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to like think these good thoughts and then they're going to happen to me. Like, it's not. You have to take the action. You have to have the faith because trust me, there's going to be days that you're going to be like, what is going on here? But you have to just know that like those parts of it, those challenging moments are part of the whole thing. And yeah, so I had this picture on here and I think like if I move it up, yeah, you can see like the bottom of like the before photo,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, when I saw this and I made this realization and I was like, I was looking through past vision boards and I was like, wait a minute, I've seen that before. And then I was like, oh my goodness, like look at how cool that is that now I just like moved the whole thing around. But I'm like, look how cool it is that this picture that I've had on my vision board for like 2 years now is an actual reality that I've created. And I mean, that's like eerily similar. Like it's kind of wild.
That's incredible.
Like even like the placement of like the fridge and like everything. Like
I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like the whole like counter area is like spot on.
and the wood beam like going around the slide, like it's wild to me. It's really
Yeah.
wild. And what's even crazier is like the original setup of my camper was not this.
Yeah.
um where this dining table is in mine, it was actually the couch. And I don't know why I just like switched them because I was like, well, it makes sense, like if you're cooking there's not a ton of counter space, like using the table as like an extra space or whatever. And it just so happened that in this other camper that I had on my vision board, it was that way where the dining table was here.
Wow.
So it's like these are just, this is like one example of it. Let's see, I've got the dog one here, right? So Stella, my dog, my husky, um, This is actually an interesting story because she was not supposed to make it to Florida with us. Um, we had a very challenging um puppyhood. It's not a childhood, but the puppy stages with Stella. She was like, uh, she's next to me, so she'll forgive me, but she was literally the worst dog. Like she ate everything. She was very aggressive. She had resource guarding, like you name it. She had trouble with like she wouldn't use the bathroom outside. She only went inside. Like you name like every bad quality of a dog and mine had it. Like it was horrible. And it was like years of this, of just trying to like work on it and work on it.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, transferring her from the only environment she's known of Connecticut to Florida, which is like night and day, was not something I was really, inclined to do. I was like, well, not only did she have a challenging upbringing, which it is what it is. I chose her, so it was my duty to respond to that. But to change environments like that as a husky was not really ideal. So I was working super hard before we left to match her with a forever home. And I was in talks with this rescue, and they actually match up um, rescues with veterans, which is so cool. And I thought that was like a really awesome, idea and concept. And everything was good. We were like ready to roll. Like everything had worked out until literally the week of. They messaged me and they're like, I'm so sorry. We don't have a veteran for her yet, and we don't have like a place to like hold her because I was leaving. I had like a deadline. So I'm like, me and Tyler talked about it and we're like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm like, well, looks like she's coming to Florida. So she did. And honestly, I feel like it was the best thing that's ever happened because every single one of those behavior problems have basically resolved. She's like a completely different dog. And I feel like you can attest this too, Kelly, because you've
Absolutely.
even seen a shift from July to now. Um, and so for me, this was wild because, like I said, I had this on my vision board of like this husky randomly like walking on the beach, and I was like for sure that this was not going to happen. And then lo and behold, the universe has a very funny way of working things out, and so here we are. And this picture was like when we first moved here in June or July of her on the beach.
I love that. That's so cool. That's just, yeah. I mean, it's again another testament to how things happen and are aligned, in just such the right way and with the right timing. That's such an incredible story. I love that.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
have one more example. So this is a vision board from this year. Something else that I really encourage you to do is not just like make one board in January or December and then like leave it until January, December, like the following year. Like I really encourage you to update your boards every so often. I probably do it quarterly, like maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Mhm.
Um, sometimes I even do it like more often than that. And so it's good to keep it fresh because it's more interesting for your eye, especially because so I use a digital version.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, either way you do it is there's no wrong way, but I prefer the digital because I update it so much. And so I actually put this as my background on my computer screen. And I use my computer for work, I use it for pleasure, I use it for like everything. So it's something that I'm like looking at often. Like every single time I open up my laptop, this is what I'm looking at. And so this is one from August, I want to say. It was July or August. And I decided that we were going to take a trip to Connecticut. We were going to go to New England. And this was something that was like really important to me because I love fall. And, we came to Florida in June, which was like the height of summer here.
Mhm.
And, Tyler's birthday is in October, but he could really care less. Like he loves the heat. If he had it his way, he would have just stayed in Florida. But something that really meant a lot to me was like being able to go to New England. And we actually did go. And so I have another example from this board of a manifestation that I created. So this is the dream board here with like the trees, their fall, that like dark, trunk, and even like the little trail with like the leaves on it and everything. And then this picture on the right is from when we were in New Hampshire and we were visiting my sister and my niece. And Tyler and I went on a walk with Stella because we had Stella with us on this trip. And this is the picture. I'm just like on vacation. I'm like snapping random pictures. I wasn't like thinking like, oh, this is from my vision board. I snapped it. And then afterward, I was looking through it and I said, wait a minute, I've totally seen this picture before. And I pulled it up and I pulled the side by side and I was like, oh, no way. Like another example of my looking for that example in my 3D world of something it's seen before. Um, so this was another really cool one that happened. It happened like really quickly. This was like I said, I made this in like August or September, and then I actually experienced it in October. So I feel like I sped up the time like wicked fast this one.
I love that. It makes me come up with a couple other questions that I have for you related to this. So I've done this and I see that like on the examples that you shared with us, that you've done this too, but what are your thoughts on like, clearly you wrote 2023 on there. Like I typically do that with mine too. I haven't done a quarterly vision board or dream board. I'm definitely open to doing that and I love the thought of doing it, especially since you've walked us through that and I just feel called to now do that quarterly. But what are your thoughts on say like labeling it with the year and then even like I know many of us have like a word or words of the year, putting those on there because I've also done that too. And I'll even go beyond that. And like some of the pictures that I have, I'll write like words that describe why that picture is on there, right? Like what is that experience going to bring to my life? Like what kind of emotion am I going to feel? So like what are your thoughts on those types of things, like putting words on there too?
Yes, I am so glad you asked that because that's something else that I really honed in on this year too. So you can see like a clear difference between like my 2021 board, right? Where it's just like a lot of photos.
Yeah.
There's some words, right? Like there's like I am worthy of happiness and love, financial freedom. And then I had like my STEM because I do online tutoring and I was like really focused on building a STEM program online.
Mhm.
But other than that, there's not really a ton of emotion here, right? You don't even know what my word of the year is on this,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Versus, let's go this one, right? This is like a more recent one.
Mhm.
So this one, not only do I have the year on it, but I also have some like words to kind of spark, like you're saying, spark those emotions like abundance,
Yeah.
gratitude, love, fun, right? And I think that's like the secret sauce is like pairing the first point of view photo with a word or emotional connection.
Okay.
That's what's really going to help you like collapse that time and really be able to like speed up the process of the manifestation because we are emotional creatures.
Yeah.
And when we feel something, that's when we are attracting that said desire.
Mhm.
So if I'm trying to, like, for me with my campers, right, I had to make this pivot from renovating to sell it to now renovating it to rent it out. And I've been like super successful with it, even in the short period of time I decided to do this.
Yeah.
But for me, it was about being fun. It has to be fun.
Right.
And I think that's because I am an Enneagram 3, but I like long to be a 7 so much. I feel like other threes will relate to that too because I just think sevens just their perspective is just everything is fun. If it's not fun, they're not doing it, right? And so I long for that. I love to have fun. I want to make things that I'm doing enjoyable. But there has to be a level of like structure to it, right? There's got to be some goal attached to this fun thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
So being able to do that and create that emotional feeling, I really think that's like literally the secret sauce. And I was actually talking to my coach last night. I have a business coach, And I was telling her, and it's so weird because I actually said the word fun. I'm like, this is so fun. Like, I'm having so much fun doing these things.
Yeah.
And to other people, it may seem stressful. It may feel like overwhelming. There's so much to learn, you know? And I make mistakes. Everyone does in the beginning. But at the end of the day, I'm having fun. And that literally came from like it derived from this word just being on my vision board. Something that I'm like really stickler on, and it's something that's like really important is to like practice gratitude too. Some, you know, having gratitude, I think, is what attracts the joy. I think that by putting yourself in a perspective of like, okay, what do I have right now that I can be thankful for having? It allows us to open up to what is coming for us too. When we get into that kind of scarcity mode, we get into that kind of lack of like, I don't have this and I won't have that. And there's not enough of this, not enough time, not enough money, not enough love, right? We start to like kind of retreat and we start to kind of close off. And
Mhm.
what we do is it's not that we're necessarily like eliminating the manifestation, it's that we're blocking the ability to receive it. So it just creates more time. It just makes it a longer process. So, like for me in this picture, where, you know, I had the camper and I had the dog, but like some of these other things, like I haven't yet experienced it. And I think it's because there's no emotion to it. I don't have any feeling. Like I don't have a feeling of this girl running on the beach. You know, maybe if I put like a medal or some kind of like PR goal attached to it that would arouse a feeling, then I might be able to experience it faster.
Yeah.
Um, there's another one too. Oh, the trees from fall, right? I love fall. And although there's no word on there to erect that feeling, I still know that like when I see those trees, even in a picture, it makes me feel good
Yeah.
because it's something that I love and I'm like excited to see it. And I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to go like jump around in the crunchy leaves, you know? So it creates that kind of, I think it goes back to that word fun. It creates that kind of fun mentality of, you know, this is something to be excited about. This is something coming to me. This is something that I get to experience. And by having that, we're able to collapse the time of like how long before we get to experience it.
Right.
Um, you mentioned also putting your word of the year, which is why I came back to this one specifically.
Yeah.
So highly, highly recommend that. I'm not big on New Year's resolutions. As a matter of fact, I suggest not doing New Year's resolutions.
Yep.
Reason being, a resolution is a highlight of something that you didn't do or something that is you're not doing correctly. So an example, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, my New Year's resolution is I'm not going to drink soda." Okay, cool. But what you're doing by saying that is this is bad if I drink soda.
Mm.
Instead, what you could say is, you know, something that my intention is for the year is to drink more water or drink seltzer before I drink soda or, you know, something related to that. So by having that intention, that word of the year on your board too, you're able to really draw in the focus of like it's like a reminder of like what is my intention? What am I really focused on this year? And it helps it kind of speed up the process too.
I love that.
Thank
Wow.
you.
This is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I guess I'm speechless at this point because you've given us so much good knowledge and insight into how this works. Is there anything else that you think would be helpful or beneficial to, let's say, someone who's like never done this before? Um, what would your advice be to them if they're like overwhelmed right now? They're like, oh my God, I want to do this, but like where and how do I start? Right. And I know you said like you obviously don't have to cut out, pictures from a magazine or print them off and glue them. You can do a digital one. But what for someone who's like wants to do it but might be a little bit overwhelmed, what would your next steps, if you will, be to that person who's like, okay, I want to do it, but Abby, tell me how I start.
Yeah, it is super overwhelming. So I'm really glad that you said this because even now, like by doing this like so many years, I still get kind of overwhelmed at this because there's just if you think about like all the things that you want, right? All the things that you're manifesting, then you're like, "Ooh." You kind of get like a little bit nervous and maybe it even sparks like anxiety of like, "Well, what if this thing doesn't happen?" So then that thing won't happen. It's like you start to go in like a downward spiral. So the first step is breathe. Definitely like connect to your body, connect to your breathing. I always like do some sort of like visualization meditation before I plan my vision board so that I connect to myself and I connect to my source and I'm kind of put myself in a good balance. Then the next step, and I feel like this is just the teacher in us, is I brainstorm. I actually will just like do like a brain dump, which I hate that phrase because I just feel like it reminds me of something else. But I do. I brainstorm and I literally will sometimes it doesn't make any sense and sometimes it does, but I literally just start like writing and it doesn't have to be like in any sort of format. It could just be like words that you just write randomly on a page, or you could bullet point it, you could chunk it into sections. But I just brainstorm like, what do I want my year to be? I don't look at the next 5 years. I don't look at the next, 20 years. I'm like, oh, who am I going to be at, 70 years old? Like, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about like between now and 12 months from now, like, what do I want to accomplish? What will really just not only bring me joy and like fulfillment, but like something that I'm like excited about, something that's going to like spark passion in me.
Mhm.
And from there, like through that brainstorm process, I'm able to pick out different things. And I'm like, ooh, that would be cool on a vision board. Oh, that would be something that I probably will do at the beginning of the year. Like Tyler and I are taking a trip. We're going on a cruise in January. And so on my vision board, I'm going to have a picture of the islands that we're going to go see because I know that's happening in the beginning of the year. Will that same picture make it to my December vision board? Maybe. I don't know. It might stick around because it's something I've already manifested, or I might replace the nice Pinterest picture with an actual picture that I take when we're on the trip. But I think it's so important to. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. She gets really excited. But I think it's really important to. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Hold on. It will come back to me.
You're good.
Dog mom life. Hey, 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 come here. It's okay. It's okay. Relax. Relax.
Ah,
I know. She like sees someone just freaking out. It's okay. Hey, it's all right. Um, but I think it's really important to when you're kind of figuring out like the initial part, just brainstorm and then start with small. Like it doesn't have to be like that first board I showed you probably had like 20 pictures on it. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. And it's really busy to look at. Like the difference between the two, between 2020 and like 2023 board, like 2023 board probably has like 8 pictures, you know? And I'm like really intentional about the pictures instead of just like, I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that, It's like, okay, we're gonna do this. And because we're gonna do this, this is gonna come from it. And then that's gonna be a saying that we're gonna say because we've experienced this. So it's like kind of
you'll-
chunking and definitely like starting small, like less is more, especially in the beginning. Don't feel like you have to upload 1,000 photos onto your vision board. Like please don't, because you're gonna feel overwhelmed looking at it, let alone making it. um so that would be my recommendation is like first definitely like connect to yourself, like do a meditation, do some EFT tapping, some breath work or the sound healing, like any of those types of kind of healing properties, like start with that and then brainstorm. From that brainstorm session, you'll be surprised at some of the things that you come up with. And then from there, like have fun with it. Like go on Pinterest and, just start pinning things to a board. Like you don't have to worry about like printing them or putting them on your Canva yet. Like kind of do it in phases and definitely don't do it all in one day. Like space it out. Give yourself time. A lot of people have this like weird thing, like it has to be done by Jan 1. Like, says who?
Right.
Like it does not have to be done by Jan 1. And it's not going to mean that you're not going to manifest these things if it's not done on time. Like it totally will. It's more about creating that feeling, creating that excitement about what you're going to manifest, but simultaneously managing that overwhelmment feeling because it's really easy to feel that. And then that will kind of put you back into that scarcity, and it will create that block with the time function of, well, now it's just going to take longer to get to that kind of manifestation.
I love that. And I love that you speak to the fact that, like, as you're making it, don't put too many things on the board because it'll overwhelm you, as well as don't try not to do it all in one day, because that's also what I've learned too over the years. Like I used to, the first couple of times, just feel like I had to get it all done and solidified in one day. And I've actually started mine. I know we're having our vision board party tomorrow, but I've actually started mine because I really wanted to like simmer on different thoughts and feelings. And like, I know that tomorrow, what I've created in the past couple of days is going to change, because when I go through even more in-depth thinking about how I want to feel, what I want to have happen this year, it's going to evolve and change and grow. So I love that. The other thing I was going to say too, and actually ask you your thoughts on, is what would you say, like for someone, again, like we just said, who maybe is overwhelmed by this, would you say, maybe having them focus more on the feelings and less on like experiences, so that they don't get caught up in like, oh, well, then this, if I put that I'm going to the Bahamas, then this has to happen, by this time. And instead, just like, what do you want to feel? Like maybe it's you just want to feel more rest and relaxation. And maybe you do put a picture of the beach up there, but it's like, it's going to remind you to have that calm relaxation time for yourself. I almost feel like, I'm curious on your thoughts, but I almost feel like that might be another thing for someone who's just dipping their toe in this and getting ready to start this process. Might make it feel a little bit easier, because it's not like these concrete experiences that you're trying to, um, make happen, or they may happen, but it just makes it a little bit less, I don't know, daunting or intimidating for those who might feel that way?
Absolutely. Like you nailed it 100%. So this is like part of like a saying in yoga is attachment is the root of all suffering. So even an attachment to, like you said, that exact experience of being like, oh, I put this beach. So if I don't go to this beach, like, oh, I failed the manifestation, or I'm not good at this, or I'm not actually a magnet. Like you are. But having that attachment to that said item, that said picture that you put on your board, like that's what's going to drive you crazy. It's going to make you feel like it, what it's going to do? It's going to take away the part of the letting go, and your ego is going to try to take over. And your ego, the whole point of our ego is to protect us, right? So we never want to feel like we're defeated. We never want to feel like we didn't accomplish these things, or we are not worthy of experiencing them, right? So our ego is going to go out of its way to try to create that exact reality. But what you mentioned is like so crucial. It's like, what if you don't like what if you're supposed to go to this trip to the Bahamas and you don't make it there, right? But what if you end up going to this like secluded beautiful beach in Florida or California, and it's like that was what you were supposed to experience, not necessarily Bahamas,
Yeah.
right? As much as that feeling of being on the beach, relaxed, hanging out with your friends and family. Maybe you got a pina colada in your hand, maybe you don't. That kind of feeling. That's the main ingredient. And I think that's, like I said, that's like having that first person point of view attached to that feeling is what's really it's going to shrink the time between now and when you experience it.
Mhm.
But having the attachment to the photo of being like if I walked around all of New England and I was like looking for that picture that I had put on my vision board, I first of all I never would have saw it. And second of all, I would have drove myself crazy. I would have taken myself out of being present in that moment and experiencing the things because I was too busy looking for it. Being able to let go and know, like, I didn't look for that at all. I didn't at all. And the only time I saw it was when I was going back through. We had this really long drive home. So I was looking through some of my photos and I was like, oh, I've actually seen this picture before. And that's when I had the realization that, like, this was something I created in my 3D world from my vision board, but not because I was looking for it and not because I was like, ooh, I have to go on a walk today because today's the right day and I see the sun's in that perfect spot and the trees are going to be this exact color. Like, that attachment to the outcome is going to not only block your manifestation, but it's going to drive you crazy because you're going to lose the moment of now.
That makes total sense. That makes total sense. Yeah, it's your mind can play games with you on that, but I see what you're saying, and I see the value in, just really honing in on the more of the feeling and less on, like you said, the attachment to an actual tangible experience, or even thing, even object. I think too, it can be intimidating. So just focusing more on the emotions that you want to feel. And I think that lends itself to even, like you said, doing maybe a quarterly board so that as you get better at doing this, for yourself and creating these vision boards, then eventually you might feel ready to put like an actual experience on there because you understand how it works. You've seen the value in it, and you've seen how it propels you and motivates you to do the things that are going to make you feel the way that you want to feel. So I love that. I love it. Okay,
There's
as
also like a big difference too. This is like a little bit of like human design, but
sure.
there's a big difference between specific and non-specific manifestors.
Mm,
So if you're a specific manifester, maybe it would be in your best interest to put, that exact red 4x4 Jeep on your vision board, right? But if you're a non-specific manifester, maybe you just put the Jeep logo.
mhm.
Maybe you just make it super casual. You don't even put the make or model or the year. You just literally put the Jeep logo and you're like, "Oh, I know I'm going to see that somewhere. I know it's going to come up in my life." And then you let go of the how. And then before you know it, Jeeps are going to start popping up because of our RAS, right? We're looking for it. We're searching for the confirmations in our 3D world. And then before you know it, you're probably in your own Jeep.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Okay, so as we start to wrap things up, first of all, thank you again. This has been incredible. I know you're hosting the vision board or the dream board party tomorrow, which at the time that the recording on the podcast goes live, it'll already be after. But is there a way for women to sign up after the fact and get a recording?
Unfortunately, there's not. And I hate saying that because I know how powerful this is going to be. But also, I find that sometimes, so I've done other workshops in the past, and I find that when I am recording it, people are less interactive
Hmm.
and they feel more reserved. They're less vulnerable to share because they're like, oh, this is being recorded. Someone else is going to watch it at some point. So to create that kind of sacred space, to create that vulnerability, because my workshops are not where, like, I'm not a direct teaching kind of teacher. I'm an interactive. It's like I do, we do, you do kind of thing, the gradual release. So for me, it's like I don't want to create this kind of platform where I'm like, hey, I'm up here and I'm telling you what to do. Like, I want to do it where it's like we're doing it together because someone else may have an idea or a reality that they've experienced that can help someone else in the group or even help me.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important to create that kind of vulnerability, create that sacred space by not recording it. So unfortunately, the vision board party tomorrow will not be recorded. However, I do have a goals workshop. And so this is something I do in January. Usually it's like late January, like after all the hype of New Year's resolution has kind of died down. I host this goals workshop, and that I do record.
Okay.
And I record it because I do offer it to people throughout the year.
Mhm.
And that is like a very specific, more direct teaching of how to actually form goals that you will achieve. Not that you can achieve or that you might achieve, that you will. Like, I know for a fact that you will get these done because I have so many students that have amazing testimonies based on my technique. And so that one I can offer as well to your podcast listeners that, if you guys are interested in kind of setting up your year in a goals form, and having like actually attainable goals, that is something that we'll be doing at the end of January. I haven't picked a date yet, but I can let you know for sure. And then that one I do record because, like I said, that I kind of offer throughout the year because some people it's like, okay, their new year is in January, but sometimes it's like on your birthday. Or some people follow like the seasons, and so their new year is like March 21st, like on the first day of spring. And so it varies. And I like to give that as an option too, because one, anyone who attends the live recording, um, they automatically get a copy of it, and I encourage them to go back and listen throughout the year. And then two, I'm able to show them like, look, this is what you were doing. This is what you said during this recording. And now look at what you've accomplished. So it's like a cool way to kind of, I guess that's like the teacher in me. I'm like constantly like giving feedback of like, look at what you've done, you know?
I love that. Well, yeah, I think it would be great if you would share then just how to connect with you, because then when that does come up, I'm sure that I know I definitely want to attend that, but I'm sure there will be many women that want to attend that too. And whether they can attend live or not, I'm sure they'll love to get the recording of that. So yeah, if you want to share how to connect with you, that would be amazing.
Cool. So I am on Instagram. That's my favorite platform. I'm on Facebook too, but Instagram's my favorite platform. And so my handle is at healthy happy Abby. So in between healthy happy and Abby, there's a underscore. So I'll say it again, at healthy underscore happy underscore Abby. My handle I chose because I feel like intention is everything. And so those are the things that are most important to me is number one, my health, and number two, my happiness. And then of course me.
I love it. Abby, thank you so much. You are just, for those who don't know Abby, she's just such a bright light in my life. And I'm just so blessed to be your friend and for you to be my friend. And um, just thank you for being you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts and your wisdom in the creation process of the dream board, vision board, for this upcoming new year. And yeah, I'm super excited to see your vision board for this upcoming year. And I'm excited to start doing some quarterly boards. I think that'll be awesome too. So yay, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It is literally the best gift to know and love you and your husband. We've grown so fond to you guys, and we look forward to when you come back and visit us. And who knows, maybe we'll take a trip to visit you. And I'm really honored to be able to share this because this is something that is really meaningful to me. And I think the only reason that it holds any meaning is because I know that I can share it with someone else and it will make a difference and it will change how they perceive the world and even what they get to experience. So it would do no service to just hold it into myself and hold on to this kind of this magic that I've learned. Um, and so I was so honored when you asked me to talk about this. And I thought, like I said, it was so fitting, the timing of the year. A lot of people are doing them. And just to be able to give you a little bit of tips and tricks that work. But I hope to see everyone tomorrow at the live training. And then, like I said, if you can't make it or you hear this afterward on the podcast, I'd love to have you at the goals workshop. It's a little bit different structure, but similar concept where we're focused on intention and we're focused on taking actionable steps.
I love that. Yeah, I'm super excited for that tomorrow. And I will drop the link to join. If you want to sign up to join us tomorrow, I'll drop that link underneath our video here. And yeah, just Abby, oh my goodness. You and your family mean the world to me and to Jeremy. And so just thank you for being you. You're incredible, and I can't wait to share you with more women in this community. So thank you, thank you.